We had a rather tricky situation because one of my brothers accidentally broke one of the bathroom basins and there was a big crack in it, which he tried to glue together somehow. It didn't work. Anyway, these basins, there were two of them in that bathroom and they were put in by my father just after the fire, and there weren't many of them sold, so we had to find one on Le Bon Coin, where you can buy things second-hand. Not always second-hand actually, but and he found exactly two of them of that model in the whole of France. And so I went to collect one because it happened to be 2.5 hours away from where I live. So obviously I had to look on the map for that, and I saw it was just next to a town, a very well-known town called Baccarat. And anyone who's ever heard of Baccarat knows that's a crystal factory. They make all sorts of things out of crystal, the usual glasses, bottles, vases. And I thought, well, this is the opportunity if ever there was one. So let's kill two birds with one stone. Fetch the basin and visit the Baccarat Museum. Hold on, let's have a look at it. And there it is. Beautiful. I'm very pleased with it. Apparently it's brand new, it was never used. It's still completely smooth and it's exactly the right model. Keeping my fingers crossed. I might get home and realise it was a slightly different model. And quite by chance, the day we went just happened to be one of the Journée Européenne des Métiers d'Art, which means, translated into English, something like the European Days of Profession of the Arts. So it's everything artistic, everything made by hand, all of that. So the entrance was free, which was nice. And on that day there were even a couple of artisans present in the museum showing us their trade, including this one.
Regarde sur la tête, tu vois. Là. Quand il a le verre, il va voir là.
This is a very good little museum because it gives you enough detail without becoming too technical. Here the craftsman was explaining the gilding process. It includes 2 sessions of gilding and putting them in the oven at, I think, 400 degrees. As well as these little butterflies. In fact, they're quite big, heavy-looking butterflies. Baccarat are known especially for their chandeliers, which are quite spectacular and seem to come in all sorts of different colours. And here you can see there are urns that they've made with their special colours, a lot of red. They also make perfume bottles, gorgeous vases, glasses, and they've made their produce for all the great people of this world, including Queen Elizabeth II, the last Kaiser of Russia. So some of the prices here are pretty mind-boggling, but it has to be said, the quality is amazing. Later on during this visit, I saw on the wall pictures of Coco Chanel and Karl Lagerfeld. Even the Kardashians apparently had some of their produce delivered to them. I had no idea that the Kardashians knew Baccarat. But hey, just goes to show, small town, famous produce. I have to show you something pretty incredible. I had no idea of the size of this whole undertaking at Baccarat. Look at this. So this is the chateau of the direction of Baccarat. It's amazing. Look. And all these houses along the side, these little buildings, are the employees. That is obviously part of the original factory. And along the other side, another set of houses belonging or used by the employees. I don't think they're all occupied anymore, but you can see that some time ago this was an enormous thing. This is really a very chic chateau, and they've got this tiny little, I call it an appendix. It's really sweet. I don't know what it is, but it's lovely. Probably some sort of little winter garden added to the first floor. And look, they've got their own church or chapel. That is beautiful. I love it. I wonder if they had stables. Oh, they must have had stables. Yes, of course, over there. Look, with those arched entrances which are now blocked. Must have been for the carriages 100 years ago or so. Just look at this. Their own private garden. Beautiful day. In it. Well, I just tried going into their little chapel to have a look, and in fact it's locked, so it's definitely still private. And not open to visits. In fact, it's a Sunday, so there's not an awful lot going on here. And after that very inspiring day, we decided to finally fix the mess of cable salad above our chandelier in the sitting room, which, by the way, is definitely not a Baccarat.
Well, we have this bar that feeds through here, and that has electric cables coming through it. And for the moment, as we have basically a cup that's this shape that comes underneath to hide the cables, where the cables come out, we have to get the cables through this hole, and they're just too rigid. So for the moment, we're just opening up this tube so that we can feed the cables through cleanly. And then we have a couple of which have all of this area to cable up cleanly, hide it behind cups, and hang it back up. Okay.